Hi there, I'm Andy Serkis, the director of Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, and this is Notes on a Scene.
Let him go, Bagheera. Bagheera.
So we're going to look at a scene which is the culmination of an event in Mowgli's life called the running, which is a rite of passage trial that he has to go through to prove himself and to enable him to be considered part of the pack. He's never going to be able to run as fast as a wolf on all fours, so Baloo, his teacher, has been teaching him to slide down trees, to jump from branch to branch, to enable him to get a bit of a head start. At this moment in time, it just about looks like Mowgli is in the lead and going to cross the finishing line before all the other wolves, when suddenly something happens. When we headed into this movie, I really didn't want to use documentary-style, photoreal animals that you would never believe a voice would come out of. Part of the design of the animals was to license them so that you could actually see facial expressions that made human vowel sounds, because these are animals that represent humans. I mean, if you look at Baloo's face here, the jawline, the muzzle, the eyebrows. Animals don't really have eyebrows like that, but these are all designed to make them look more human. Although it feels like a bear, it's actually not the shape of a bear's face. And I purposefully wanted all of the eyes of the animals to look as human as possible. So, in fact, this is the character that I play. So Baloo as a character he's very grizzled, he's got furrowed brows, he's covered in scars, there's a scar on his nose there. You know, I have quite a furrowed brow, and I also made Baloo have a slightly slack jaw, so when I was acting him, I sort of let my jaw drop on this side a little bit, so you got, you know, when he's talking like that, he's like that, it sort of drops out of the corner of his mouth. But, you know, he's got a bitten ear, so you can see that's sort of chewed up. We wanted our animals to feel real, and to feel not that they were sort of fluffy CG inventions, but that they were textured, real beasts that go through survival on a day-to-day level. We shot the whole film in two different passes. One, the first section of the movie was with all our A-list cast, so Cate Blanchett, Benedict Cumberbatch and Christian Bale, and Rowan Chand, who plays Mowgli. It was all about their performances, really. It was about their facial capture performances and moving around physically as their creatures. And once we'd done that, we would then move on to our jungle sets, of which we built at Leavesden Studio. So all of these trees, all of the vines, all of the stuff in the foreground here, this is all real foliage, all the stuff down here. Then you find a point where you're looking into the background, and all the stuff sort of from there, all this is all CG set extension. This actual shot is what we would call a pickup or a facial ADR, which means that in fact I actually shot this piece. It must have been 2 years after principal photography to get this look. So in the ADR stage, I'd just have my head-mounted camera with dots all over my face, and then I would be able to watch on screen what's going on, and then I'd be able to trace Mowgli's eye line as he's running towards me, and that look that I give in this very, very shot was actually something that was captured 2 years after the event. So that's the great thing about performance capture. You can keep adding little modules of performance, pick up beats, you know, bits of storytelling as it carries on.
Let him go, Bagheera. Bagheera.
Here on screen we've got Rowan Chand, who is a Mowgli in our picture, extraordinary young actor. And the makeup department went to town. You can see everything. Again, we wanted him to not look too clean. In other versions of Mowgli's story, the boy always seems to look like he's sort of just strolling down through Central Park. He never seems to get dirty, and we really wanted him to feel grungy and dirty and filthy. So here we have Christian, who is at this moment, at this extraordinary moment of losing himself, and he really goes into full panther mode. And Christian actually did this, leapt on top of him, and we captured all of Christian's performance. You can actually see Christian's face in this, and all of this skin texturing and fur, all of this, the detail that the visual effects team work on, getting the jaw to read Christian's jaw, the yellowing of the teeth again to make the character seem more believable. These whiskers, we spent a long time getting these right, so they were so in every single shot they're lit slightly differently so they don't become too distracting because of the jaw opening and closing so much. Yeah, this wonderful sort of tension in his brow that the animators would bring to it whilst not losing Christian, but yet really seeing the full panther in him.
Let him go, Bagheera.
So in a shot like this, I mean, Rowan really, he has to go from like 0 to 60, and just to get into this shot, to literally roll, be flicked over, land, have Bagheera land on him. He's got to emotionally be totally in the scene and prepped. So part of what I used to do with him was I used to say to him before every single shot, Rowan, right, we're going to get into the zone now. And I'd make him do press-ups, I'd make him focus, and we're going to get ramped up, and then it would be a real fast count, 3, 2, 1, action. I'd throw him into the scene, he would roll in, and he'd be really pumped.
Bagheera. Get up. You let your guard down. I told you, never let your guard down.
When I think about the other roles that I played using performance capture, it's difficult enough to take a humanoid face and to transfer it and transpose the performance onto, say, Gollum or Caesar in Planet of the Apes. But those are much, much more humanoid faces, facial structures. They're not too different from a human's face. But when you're looking at transposing a performance into with a muzzle like this, that takes a lot of work, a lot of understanding about how to make the emotion read in the performance and actually quintessentially get what I was doing in this moment. So what they're looking at when they get the material is data, which is the 3D captured dots in 360 degrees. But they're also looking at what we call witness cameras, which are lots of cameras placed around the actor's face so that you can really read the performance. And it was their job then to absolutely get as greater fidelity to what I was doing in the moment there. For instance, a shot like this, where there's a physicality, a change of physicality in a blocking move with the camera. Again, it was inspired by the first performance capture phase, when Christian turned away and moved away and tries to gather himself. And so they would look at the reference shot of the witness camera footage, knowing what Christian, seeing what Christian was doing, and then we would either have, as a rehearsal, we would have a motion capture actor, or in fact sometimes we used two actors with a spine. So it'd be two actors, one playing the front legs and one literally playing the back legs. On the end of a sort of a flexible pole, they would have Bagheera's head that they could move around and steer. So that would enable us to get our framing absolutely right.
Get up. You let your guard down. I told you, never let your guard down.
He's only chasing me. He targeted me. He knows I'm the weakest.
Rowan, was 10 years old when he started making this movie and 14 when he finished. So he obviously started off with a slightly younger facial features, and we were very worried over the course of the 4 years with all of the pickups that we did. This actual shot, which we had to match in with the previous shots in the sequence, was actually about a year and a half after those previous shots. And Rowan had changed by now. He had actually grown. This is now shot against the blue screen. So this was all a CG environment. We didn't build that again. This is we had to replicate what had been created a year and a half before. You'll notice that there is a slight difference. He had grown his hair very long, but he had to come back and have false hair extensions put in. The makeup, you'll notice, is slightly different. We would try to match it as much as possible, but when he stands up, he's just that little bit taller. And that was because there's a different reaction to that we wanted to get, rather than what used to happen actually in the first time we shot it, was that he really started shouting at Baloo, that in terms of how he was betrayed and so on, and then Baloo has a real go at him, but we thought Baloo was being a bit too heavy, so we pulled that back. So we needed to reshoot this. But you can tell this is a boy who's going from the age of 10 to 14 and then going back to the younger version of Rowan, which was back to when he's sort of 10 going on 11.
He targeted me. He knows I'm the weakest. All of your lessons, they mean nothing!
We see Mowgli take off, and and really it's a pivotal point at the end of this scene, because he then begins his journey towards stepping over the line, becoming assimilated into the world of mankind, and then having to retract and find his place. So this is a huge turning point. Our journey is really about a boy who feels other. There are laws and rules that are within the jungle that hold the structure of the jungle together, and some of them he can abide by, some of them he can live with, but some of them he just can't, because he's not an animal of the jungle. But when he finally gets to the village, he realizes neither can he fully live in the world of man, because their rules and customs and laws don't apply to him either. So the whole film is really about a search for his identity and how he can be himself.